Hey guys, Ellie here. Today I'm hanging out with our beautiful farm babies. We got Gus Gus, we got Hero, Ziggy Birdie, old Chia Pet. Here's our Angel right here. All of our special farm friends. It's a beautiful day out here, about 9 a.m. I'm wearing a long sleeve t-shirt. It's not that hot yet. And we've had a lot of cooler weather recently. Today's video is not about the weather though. Today's video is gonna be a little bit more about the tragedy that happened last week with our two alpacas, Ernie and Okie Dokie. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure most of you do by now, last week our two alpacas both got very, very sick, Ernie and Okie Dokie. We had them taken to Texas A&M Veterinary Hospital. They are pretty much the best there is out there, so we knew they were in good hands. They were taken such good care of, but unfortunately Okie Dokie passed away from his illness, and Ernie, his dad, is still hanging on for his life right now. He's still having a really, really hard time. Ernie is at Longhorn Lester's with my dad and Jamie. We kind of all talked about it and thought it best for him to be there because they already have two other alpacas over there, and so if we brought him back here, he'd be alone because the only other alpaca that was with him is no longer with us. So we thought it'd be good for him to be surrounded by his own kind during this difficult time for him. And so I know my dad and Jamie are taking such good care of him, and I know that Annie and Indy, his companion, and his daughter are giving him good comfort over there as well. And so Ernie could still use you guys' prayers, most definitely. Still has a long road ahead. But, when it comes to tragedy and stuff like that and loss, I'm not one of those people that likes to talk till I'm blue in the face about it. I feel like whenever I talk about it excessively, it just makes me feel down and depressed. So, don't get me wrong, Okie Dokie was, y'all know how much I love him. I don't even need to explain that. But he'll never be forgotten, and I'll always remember how sweet and how gentle he was, and I'm sure that there will be things that remind me of him all the time. But as far as just like beating a dead horse, making like repeated videos, that wasn't a very good pun. That wasn't a good analogy. Yikes. But as far as just like making, just repeated videos and just talking about the same thing over and over and over, I'm not really somebody that likes to do that. I would just kind of like to, I don't know how to word it without sounding bad. I guess keep moving forward and stuff like that, to put our best foot forward for the babies that we still have right here that want us to love them and take good care of them and give them the attention and love they deserve. And I know that's what Okie Dokie would want for his babies too, because he loves all these guys so very much. So yeah, that's something that I wanted to mention. But Ernie's medical report, we received an email from Texas A&M regarding that a few days ago, and I haven't got a chance to make a video about it and share it with y'all. It didn't really feel relevant at the time because I was in the middle of all the crazy stuff, but now that things have settled down a little bit, there's a lot of information in Ernie's medical report. Most of it is pertaining to his treatment and his road to recovery and stuff like that. So I don't want to mention anything regarding that. That'll be for my dad and Jamie to talk about. I want that to be their story since they're the ones who are with him and taking care of him. But there is a few things in Ernie's medical report that kind of pertain to our animals here. And so I wanted to highlight a few things just to kind of show what we learned from the whole experience at Texas A&M when we went in and visited him. I asked the vet a lot of questions, the people that watched him directly, and they gave us a lot of clarity on things we can do moving forward. And just, it was a good learning experience. You hate that you have to learn through tragedy sometimes, but through some of the details in the medical report and through the things that we asked when we were there, we learned a lot about alpacas and about animals in general. And so I figured I would share some of those things with you guys today, because some of you out there have farms, and a lot of you out there just want to know about farm animals and stuff like that. So it's just good information to spread around in general. But without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, guys, let's start at the beginning. So the first thing I notice right here is Ernie's weight, 119.6 pounds. And now at first I was worried and I thought to myself, oh no, did I underfeed him? Did I make him lose too much weight? I've talked about many times in the past how I've wanted our animals to have a lean and healthy diet. I feel like it's best for their joints and their muscles, and it helps them be active and live their best life. And I know for a fact with certain animals like Tiny Tim that were overweight, that we helped lose weight, he was able to run and play and really be active for the first time that I'd seen. And so I'm still very, very proud of that. But I was worried that, oh no, did I go too far? Did I make Ernie too skinny or oaky possibly? But according to this, it doesn't appear that way. The ideal alpaca weight, as you can see, is between about 100 and 200 pounds. And so even after being sick, when they weighed him, Ernie still is within the healthy weight range. And an alpaca's diet is mostly grass and hay anyways, as you can see. So it doesn't appear there were any problems on that front, thankfully. Let's look over here, though. This next section tells us a lot. Additional information. Ernie's extreme anemia was due to a significant endoparasite burden. By deworming him, we have addressed the endoparasitism. So that's important right there. It's obvious Ernie was anemic, extremely anemic, and it was due to being taken over by parasites in his body. They were sucking his blood, and his body couldn't produce enough. And they went ahead and dewormed him to combat that immediately in the moment. All right, this next section right here. Ernie is a 5-year-old intact male alpaca presenting to Texas A&M LAH Food and Animal Place University as a blood donor for Okie Dokie. Ernie is the sire of Okie Dokie. I guess that must mean father. Ernie appeared to be clinically healthy prior to transportation to College Station, but was stressed open-mouth breathing during the car ride. Isn't that crazy, you guys? Even in the vet's opinion, appeared to be clinically healthy prior to transportation, but was stressed open-mouth breathing during the car ride. They talked about it with us, how it's not far-fetched for stress and unusual circumstances to terribly debilitate these animals. You know, other animals and humans, nobody handles stress well. Stress is not healthy. It's really bad for anybody, but one stressful situation doesn't usually make us just collapse like that. And so it's crazy how the stress affects the alpaca so negatively. And it reiterates what my dad and Jamie have been talking about, how I know they're so worried right now that if if Ernie doesn't start getting better, they're worried sick about having to transport him back to College Station, because they know how debilitating the car ride can be for him if he's already not feeling good. And so it just really puts us in a tough bind. So they deserve you guys' empathy if anybody is like questioning that. I don't think anybody is, but this should just show how difficult it is to kind of figure out what to do for a situation like this. All right, guys, last thing I want to share with y'all is the physical examination. I promise you guys, I know y'all are probably wondering, like, Ellie, how is any of this relevant to you guys at the sanctuary right now? I'm getting there. Just bear with me a little bit longer, please. Temperature, 101.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you can see, that's within the healthy temperature range. You would think that if he was so sick, he would have a terrible fever, but he's not even showing a fever or anything like that. Now, his heart rate and his respiratory rate's a little bit high, but obviously, like as it shows with the open mouth breathing and whatnot, that can be due to the great stress of the situation and whatnot. And so the point I'm trying to make is that these things, these parasites and illnesses, they're not always blatantly obvious. They don't manifest just in an animal having terrible diarrhea all the time, and they don't show with a fever and acting lethargic and whatnot. The vet herself at A&M told us that it's not uncommon for these parasites to infest an animal for days, weeks, or even months, and you do not know a single thing about it until the animal becomes critical. Those are her own words. And so when you hear something like that, it's really unnerving and worrisome, but it made us kind of walk around here and think to ourselves, okay, we know that parasites cause this. We don't know where they got the parasites from, but they got it from somewhere. So let's figure out anything that has parasites here that we can hopefully try to prevent. And is there any possible way, any tests we can run or anything we can do to check our animals to try to catch this ahead of time, catch it before they start showing symptoms? Because unfortunately, unlike humans, sometimes once an animal starts showing symptoms, and even if you're on it immediately, that can still be too late. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so some of the changes that we've made along those lines after our kind of self-evaluation. As you can see, we got Tito and Tita right there. We have that one goose family of 5, Aunt Lydia, the 2 Chinese geese and their babies, Sagwa and Sushi. You'll see an occasional duck, intermittently scattered throughout. But as you can tell in general, the pond pasture, oh my goodness, look, Ziggy Bird in the pond cooling off. That is so cool, that's so funny. Isn't that silly? The pond pasture has a lot less birds and geese, a lot less waterfowl than it used to. You can probably see that plain as day right now looking at it. And also the pond looks a lot better, looks a lot healthier to me than it did in the past few weeks and months. And so waterfowl, ducks and geese, when they poop in a pond and stuff like that, and when there's too many of them, I mean, it's common sense that bird feces can have parasites in it. And so does it mean that that's where Ernie and Oki got their parasites from, is taking a drink from the pond water that was contaminated? We don't know, maybe not. But either way, if that's even a remote risk, then we want to eliminate that risk the best we can for our other babies. And so we rehomed a lot of the ducks and the geese to a really good place. Meg's sister's fiance, Austin, they have a pond, a really, really big pond. It's like the pond itself is like a full acre in diameter or whatever. And so they're trying to fill the pond up with different ducks and geese. So we went ahead and donated some of ours to help both of our situations out, help them gain, help us reduce. And so that was a really good change for us. And you know, there's a few other things too. Let me go show y'all. My dad brought me these right here. These are really special storage bins. They're really, really good, and they're weatherproof. So the new method that we wanted to adopt over here, and I think my dad is doing a lot of these similar changes to his property as well, is we will get a bag of feed from Tractor Supply, let's say cracked corn or bird seed or whatever, and then we'll open the container like so, and we put the scoop and we put the feed in the container. This keeps it fresh and clean, and it's just a much safer alternative overall. As you guys know, we used to put our feed, we had all of our bags in the feed room, and you saw that the goats got into it all the time, just tearing up, destroying the feed room. You saw that the pigs and stuff would run in there. Mr. Pickles would go in there and eat as well. And so you never know if they were doing that. What if one night like a raccoon got in there? What if a raccoon started nibbling on the goat grain? They started eating out of the bag. And what if that raccoon had a parasite and he spread it to the alpacas? I don't even know if that's even a possibility or if that's even how it works. But I'm just trying to think of any plausible thing here. Like, what if some wild animal came in the middle of the night and started eating out of the bags in the feed room, and that's how Ernie and Oki got sick potentially? I don't know. But at least this way right here, the food is kept in a really, really fresh place, safe from any weather. That's another thing too, any rain. The bags, they were in shelter in the feed room, but don't get me wrong, it's not nearly as safe and secure from the weather as it is right here. And you know that even little bits of rain can create mold. I didn't see any mold in the feed, but these are just all distinct possibilities. We just don't know. And so we want to take every possible step and precaution we can. And so that's another change that we've made. And I got one more big one I want to show y'all. Take a look right here. These little red, I don't even know what you call them. I'm calling them our new feeding stations. As you can see, we fed hay in there last night. This is a new thing that we have here on our property. I know that a lot of these things my dad is doing on Longhorn Lessers and JL as well. These are just general good, extra above and beyond safety measures we're trying to take. There's really a lot that we've learned from this experience. These little black troughs right here is what we used to feed in, and there's nothing particularly wrong with them or anything, but it's kind of a narrow fit. And so the goats, let's just say that they're bumping heads and fighting for food, and then it spills some of it onto the ground. There's even little holes in them. It's meant to make it easier to clean and for the water to drain, but let's say some of the food goes through the hole and ends up on the ground, and some of the animals are eating little bits off of the ground, and that's, parasites obviously live in the dirt and the soil. So, that's always a remote possibility. And so we just want to reduce any possible risk of parasites we possibly can. And this right here should be another great way to do that. It's a lot bigger, it's higher off of the ground, a lot more space for the animals to eat and share without having to fight. As you can see, we have multiple of them. The goats ate in it last night and they did a really good job. I think they really enjoyed it. And so that's something else that I'm excited to implement going forward. We're going to try to be even more frequent with mowing and with filling the waters, cleaning them out, bleaching them and whatnot. We already do pretty good with that, but you can always do better. And so we want to be even more frequent with that in light of what's happened. But at the end of the day, guys, it's farm life. Animals eat grass. Grass grows from the ground. Parasites live in the ground. I hate to say it, it sucks, and it's one of the hardest pills to swallow. I know when something bad happens, like, it's just human nature to try to, like, pinpoint the blame or find something to pin it on. It just kind of, I think it's a coping mechanism with tragedy. I think it's how people cope with loss, and I get it, and I definitely feel that way too. That's definitely where my mind went first. At the end of the day, everybody, there's not one person I know that raises animals and that lives on a farm that hasn't dealt with some sort of loss or some sort of illness before on the farm. It just happens. I think about everybody that I know in my family. I think about all the famous YouTube page of farmers, you know, from Oklahoma, from Alabama, from Minnesota, all these different states, even people in different countries like in Australia and whatnot. We have friends that we know who do homesteading and farming as well. It just happens. It's a part of farm life and it sucks, but unfortunately it's just that simple. And so we want to do everything that we possibly can, knowing that it's just there everywhere. We want to take every precaution we can for the babies to give them their best life, to make sure they're all living healthy. And I appreciate you guys loving and supporting us. Of course, it's easy to feel guilty and feel regret because they were living here when those things happened, but y'all reminded us of how many babies that we have given a great forever home to. Ziggy, Rooster. I mean, we bought Ziggy, I guess, but Rooster was a rehome. Think about the Fainers were a rehome. The Fainers have lived a great life over here. My little flood babies over there. The ABCs are doing wonderful in their pasture as well. Hero with his disability when he was born. I mean, so many animals. They're doing well over here. And so y'all reminded us of that. And it helps us to not live with regret, but to keep moving forward, putting our best foot forward for the babies. And so we really love and appreciate y'all so very much, especially for supporting us during this hard time. One final thing I wanted to share with y'all. Those are some of the changes that we made, but along the lines of what if the changes aren't enough? What if the animals do start feeling ill? Is there possibly a way to detect it, to try to figure it out, to find it, now that we know that they may not always show it? That's what we've always been told, and that's usually how most people go. And even that's a recent trend in veterinary practice recently, is that you don't want to always deworm the animals frequently, you know, like once every few months or whatever, because if you keep doing it over and over, the animals start getting kind of desensitized to the medicine. It doesn't work quite as good, and the bacteria, the viruses themselves start getting stronger. They get more resistant to the medicine. You got to find new medicine. So we've even been given the advice before to only treat on a symptomatic basis, not necessarily like once every quarter like we'd been told before. And so it's hard. There's no perfect way to do it, but there is one thing I learned that we can do frequently. People do it usually when their animals are ill or they're showing symptoms, but Meg and I are going to start doing it frequently, even if they seem healthy, now that we know that they can seem healthy but actually not be inside. And some of y'all might know what it is, but it's called the FAMACHA. FAMACHA. You can look it up. And so I don't know exactly the terminology, the medical jargon, but essentially you can look at an animal's gums and or eyelids to determine if they have good blood flow or good red blood cell count. Make sure they're not anemic, which is a lack of good blood flow. I'm going to try to do it here with one hand. I don't think this will be easy to do with one hand, but I'm just going to try. Ziggy, you're kind of intimidating me. Watch out, buddy. I'm not going to bend down right in front of you. Come here, Thumper. I'm going to test it on you real quick. It's really easy. It's pain-free. It's not difficult. And so all you do is, I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand. I wish Meg was out here. Essentially, to sum up, though, you can pull up their little lip right here and look at their gums. And then you can kind of see he won't let me do it. Sorry, guys. I'm sure y'all have seen it before. We'll do it in a video someday, I'm sure. But essentially, you lift up their gum and you look at the color of it. And what you want to see is a dark red, or at worst, like a bright pink color, something like that. That indicates that they have good blood flow, good red blood cell count, and their blood levels are healthy. They're not anemic. If you notice that it's starting to become kind of pale, like a little bit lighter pink, or what's really, really bad is like white, bright white, that means that they are anemic and they don't have a good blood cell count, and that they probably are being overcome by parasites or something like that. So that's one thing that, like I said, people normally do when their animals start feeling bad. But Meg and I, just to be on the absolutely safe side, are going to make sure we check their FAMACHAs really, really often, whether they look sick or not, because we don't want to be blindsided like that ever again. And I would even recommend that to anybody that does farm animals or that has animals and things like that. But I'm kind of talking, I'm rambling on. This video's went a really long time already, you guys. We appreciate you guys. We love y'all. I'm about to wrap it up. I hope you all have an incredibly blessed rest of your day. If y'all have any other insights, questions, or advice, then be sure to let me know in the comment section. I will catch you guys next time. And as I always say, your boy Ellie out.